Lumos colors are set with CSS variables, so they adapt based on context. This makes managing the site easier for everyone who's involved, removing the headache of combo classes. Using this opens so many possibilities, from animating variables on scroll with GSAP to respecting users' preferences and accessibility needs with CSS. In Lumos, we have two types of swatches: global swatches with values that never change, and local swatches with values that change based on the settings we apply to the parent. In our global swatches, 1 is the primary site background color, 2 is the primary text color, 3 is a lighter or darker version of the main background color, 4 is our main accent color, 5 is a lighter or darker version of the text color, and all other swatches are secondary accent colors. While these are the main colors most sites will need, you can always add or remove based on your purpose. Our local swatches match swatch 1 through 4 of the global styles. But if we add a class of mode 2 to this parent, the local swatches change. And if we add an accent color class to the parent, the swatches change again. By default in Lumos, there's 2 mode classes and 3 accent classes, but you can add as many of these as you need. To apply colors with Lumos, we use BC to apply background color, FC classes to apply font color, and an OC class to apply outline color. An outline can affect outline, border, or text stroke depending what we apply it to. Each of these reference our local swatches, but we can reference the global ones by just adding G to the end of any of them. So this class applies a background color of our second local swatch, while this one would apply a background of our second global swatch. So let's apply some colors. We'll select this card and let's give it a background color of our third local swatch. So it's white and light sections and gray and dark sections. We'll select the tag. Let's give this a background color of our fourth local swatch, so it's the accent color of the section. Now this white text is hard to read here, so we'll set a font color on the tag. We'll use FC2G, so it's the second global swatch, meaning it's always dark, regardless of which section it's used in. Here we have a play button that again has an outline applied, so we're going to use OC to set an outline color, and we'll use the fourth local swatch, so it's our accent color. Here we have another button that actually has a border applied, so for this one we'll do OC4 as well. And while we're at it, let's change the accent color on this first section, and notice how the color of everything changes inside. So here we have some text and it has a stroke applied, so we're going to apply OC for our outline 4, and that way it sets it to the accent color. Now for any of these colors, we can use the global color instead to bypass the local settings. So for the background color of this tag, let's link it to the 7th global swatch, and now you'll notice it's always that color. For each part of the Lumos framework, at the top of the embeds are our default styles. Default styles help reduce our dependence on classes by setting the way things should appear unless we choose to override it. For instance, all borders throughout our site will have a default color of our section's font color at a 20% opacity. This is using our second local swatch. We could change this to 7th global and then it would all be pink at 20% regardless of the section it's used in. But for now, we'll keep it linked to the section's font color. So here for our text stroke, it's the section font color at full opacity, same for our outline color, and then all our paragraphs are going to default to section font color at 70% opacity without even having to add a class. Now in Webflow, each of these would be treated as a separate swatch based on the opacity, meaning if we changed the color, we would have to update it across all swatches. But with Lumos, we can change the color independently of its opacity. Here for our selection color, when we drag over text, we're just inverting the section's background color and text color. And then for our inputs on our forms, we're setting the placeholder color to be section font color at 40% opacity. There's lots of defaults we can set here. And the best thing about defaults is we can always override them. So on this play button, if I set a border, it's going to set whatever border color I have in Webflow. But if I reset that border, it's going to inherit from the default that my border colors should be. Same for this paragraph text. If I go ahead and set a paragraph font color, it's going to override the default, but if I remove that, it'll inherit from the default. And our selection color is inverting based on the section we have it in. We have this text stroke here, and if we apply a color, again, it'll override, but if we remove that color, it inherits from default. Next, let's apply our site's brand colors to the Lumos style guide using this dribble shot here. We need HSL values to be able to use them at opacities, so I'll use a hex to HSL converter, and we're only interested in these 3 numbers inside the parentheses. So let's open our custom code component, and we'll open up our color embed, and we'll look for our global color variables, which should be right here. We're starting with a dark site in this case, so we'll copy over this dark value and assign it to global 1. And then global 2 should be our text color, so it's going to be this light tan. Global 3 should be a lighter version of our background color, so we're going to use this green card color here. Global 4 should be our accent color, so we'll use this really bright color here. And global 5 should be like a lighter or darker version of the text color, so we'll use this white color here. And then we won't really touch our other accent colors for now. So if we save that, it's really rebranded the whole style guide to match our site. Now, because we're starting with a dark site, there's some things we may need to touch up, like switching this to a font color of global 1. But overall, that's looking really great. And if we select a section or the body, we could even see what it looks like in mode 2, which is a light mode in this case. Now, this text color is a bit bright. I would rather that pull from basically our global 1 color here. So if we open up our custom code, go back to color, let's look for where we're assigning mode 2, which should be under our modes, which is right here. So for mode 2, we're setting the text color to be our global 3. I'm just going to switch text color to be global 1 for mode 2. And that way it just makes it a bit darker, and that's looking really nice across the board. In a future lesson, we'll fully cover styling interactive components, but since this multicolor filter was requested yesterday on Twitter, I'll cover this example someone was asking how to make. So let's do OC4 for our fourth variable on outline color, and that sets it to our accent color. Now we'll go ahead and define a new accent color on each of these divs. We could also use infchild to do this. Next, we need to set our hover states. Because the folder name in our class could change and also the utilities could change, we don't want to target by class name. Instead, we'll target by data attribute, applying an attribute of filter link to each of our links here. Now we'll also give the first one a combo class of isActive to show which filter is currently highlighted. So let's open up our embed, and we're going to target by data attribute. So we'll use these straight brackets. We're targeting anything with a filter link attribute. Now, because we're using data attributes, we can reapply this effect to multiple elements, even if they don't share the same class. We're saying whenever we hover this filter link, we're setting its background color to our local 4 swatch, but we'll do this at a 20% opacity. So if we go ahead and save this, notice how each link we hover is filling with its own accent color at that 20%. But we also need to set up our active states for this, so we'll go ahead and copy everything we've done here. And we're going to target any filter link that has a combo class of isActive. We want to fill that at the accent color at a full opacity. So if we go ahead and save that, that's looking nice here, but we also need to set text color. Let's go ahead and copy this and paste it in here. So we're going to fill this up with our color 1 global, and that way the text color becomes sort of this dark one, no matter what section it's in. So if we remove isActive from this and we add isActive to that, it's always just going to fill with the accent color of this. This would require so many interactions to do with Webflow natively, and we're able to do it so simply with Lumos. So that wraps up an overview of how to use color in Lumos. Check out the style guide of Lumos below to clone and get started, and also watch this next video on how to use Lumos.